Okay, this is quite a good time to do a video tour of the machine because we're at a stage where a certain number of components have been installed. This one here is an electric linear actuator on the engine throttle, so that'll change the engine speed, and I call that throttle A. Once we're in this area, we've also got glow plugs here which have got wiring connected to the relays in the control system, which we'll look at in a minute. There's also a start-stop solenoid here, which again goes to relay in the control system. Moving around, what else have we got? We've got a steering system here. So it's a rotary motor on the steering with its own encoders, quadrature coders, which is quite useful. And in case the machine gets stopped in full lock, we've got an induction sensor here which can sense the midpoint of the steering. So whatever happens, when the steering goes back to midpoint, then the system registers midpoint with this sensor. It's very useful. Well, actually it's essential. Then we've got a linear actuator on the swash plate on the hydrostatic transmission. This is like another throttle really, and I call that throttle B, and again it's got an induction sensor to sense the midpoint, because you don't want to start the engine when the machine is in gear, so otherwise it'll race off forwards or in reverse, which is not very convenient. If we move back here, this is the control system itself. There's loads of things to mention in the control system. First of all, look how accessible it is, and it's actually at a really nice working height, because I've actually spent quite a few hours working on this, and if it was, say, under there, that would be an absolute nightmare. Really bad for your back. So yeah, having it at a nice working height, because you spend so much time working on it, is really useful. There's space there for another control panel which might have some sort of camera controls in it for sensing positions of plants and that sort of thing, with a Linux based system probably. So on the outside we've got some USB ports, so it's really handy to be able to program the microcontroller from the outside without actually opening the case. So say it was dusty or a little bit rainy or something like that, you don't have to open the box to program it. That's really handy. I've got a volt sensor. I'm not going to turn anything on because it's not really in a state to do that, and at the moment most of the wiring's coming out of the right hand side. There is a lot of connectors here for more wiring, which probably get used at a later stage, certainly for some of the antennae. So can't see it here, but there's actually antennae sockets in the new version of this panel. Nothing coming out of here except for a fan, because again we're going to have another control box here. Don't want stuff interfering with that control box. So in here, this is loose at the moment. So what I wanted to kind of show more than anything is how the wiring has been done to enable this PCB to hinge up here, which gains access to everything else. Otherwise we'd have to disconnect loads of stuff to get access to this bottom PCB. So this is working really well. Really pleased with how this hinges like that, and it doesn't disturb anything. So looking at the wiring there, we can see big, heavy, thick wires, high ampage wires, the red ones. They are routed very carefully away from all the more sensitive logic cables, which are the purple ones. So keep them as far away as possible, and whatever you do, don't run them in parallel. They can cross occasionally, that's not too bad, but they are parallel, will get lots of problems. So here's our fuse box, just like a cheap fuse box with LEDs, which is quite handy. So if the fuse does blow, the LED will tell you that there's a problem there. Hopefully that will never happen, but you never know. And here's our current sensor. I've not wired in at the moment, other than the actual power supply, so I'll probably wire that with the steering. So talking about steering, here's the steering here. Yeah, there it is. That's the steering cable. It's not wired in yet because I want to clamp this down. And whilst I'm here, this is the transceiver for the remote control. It's not in its final position. This is going to be on a cable and mounted on a frame above the machine, but we don't have a frame to mount it on yet, so that's just randomly floating around there at the moment. It's not really an issue. It is ready to connect up, and I've got wiring diagrams, so it should be fairly quick and easy. And everything's labelled. Look at this. Look, steering. There's labels everywhere. Motor. Where is it? Can't see it now. There it is. Motor, throttle A. All this. It makes life so much easier if you've got labels on all the wires. Might sound a bit boring and tedious, but well worth it. So this is the motor controller stack. So at the moment it's got 2 dual channel motor controllers, and we're using 3 of the 4 channels at the moment. There is actually room here for another stack, I think. I've not tried it yet, but I think that we can put another controller up above this one. It looks like it's possible anyway. And what else have we got? Yeah, so all these cables here are going to connect to these orange connectors. It's quite quick to do. I suppose maybe in the future you could have a big wide connector that did all these at the same time. That would make life a bit easier for messing about with the relay board, because at the moment the relay board, we've only got 3 relays connected, and these will operate the starting and stopping of the engine. So we've got, again, labelled starter, that takes 40 amps, glow plugs 20 amps, fuel pump 5 amps, and the engine cutout solenoid there, which is 2 amps. But they've all got these massive, big, I think they're 60 amp Wago connectors. So I don't think any of them are going to blow any of the circuit there. But we'll see what happens. I'm not going to test it on the video. Yeah, it's far too difficult. Maybe I'll do another video with a quick demo of it working. If it works, fairly confident. I've tested all the sub-circuits before putting it in, so it's not like this is all kind of new. So that, like for example, that current sensor circuit has been tested. The relay board has been tested with an independent supply. Motor controllers has already been tested, and the steering throttles already seen working. So let's wire it up and see if it works. Time to do a little bit of a test. I've already tested it once, obviously off video, but let's test it on video. It's a bit noisy because the fan in this section is actually broken, but it's not critical. So I've got the remote control here. I'm going to just test the steering. There it goes. As before, not a problem. Let's try this throttle here. So there's the hydrostatic throttle. It's quite slow, but there we go. Let's try the other one. This one's a bit faster because it's got less travel. That was working as well. Put it in its lowest position. I'm not going to start the engine, but well, hopefully not. So I've got these loose wires here. So this will accept a 3-volt signal. So this is the stop solenoid, so I should hear a loud click over in the engine. There it goes. That's working. And let's find another one. Here, the glow plugs. It won't do anything, but you will hear a noise as the battery voltage drains. There we go. That fan's actually quite useful. It indicates the battery voltage audio fashion. What else have we got? We've got a starter motor. I'll do that last. What's this one here? The fuel pump. So that makes a nice sort of glugging noise. So just have 3 volts, 3.3 volt signal. Fuel pump's down there somewhere. Should be able to hear that. Nice. And lastly, the starter motor. and I don't actually want to start the engine, so hopefully this won't actually start the engine, but quite often it does. Especially if I've used the glow plugs. But here we go. This is the 40 amp starter motor. That's stop solenoid. Oh, here's the starter motor. Good job I labelled it. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Starter motor works. And that's it. That's all I wanted to accomplish today. Thank you.